Hello Mandela class, welcome to your second talk writing lesson of this week. Your learning objective today is can I use headings and subheadings? Okay, so we're going to look at exactly what headings and subheadings are, and we will look at some examples. So pause the video and have a quick think. What are headings and what's the purpose of a heading? So if you think of our text map, what's the heading of our text map? We will have a look at our text map later on in the next slides, but what's the purpose of a heading? What does a heading tell us? Well, a heading tells us what the actual text is going to be about. So, headings are short words or phrases that usually appear at the top of the page. They let the reader know what the page, chapter, or section of this text is about. Headings help organize the information on the page. They're usually in large or bold type, so they're set apart from the rest of the words. So they catch your eye before the rest of the text does. So it's larger. And another thing about headings is that we write every word of the title or the heading using a capital letter. Okay, so on this page, this is our class text. On this page, what is the heading? What catches your eye first and what gives us information about what this whole page is going to be about? So the heading for this page is in the home. So you know just by reading the heading what this page is going to be about, what information you're going to receive by reading this page. Okay, how about on this page? What's the heading on this page? Well, the heading is Victorian cities because it tells us what information we'll be receiving by reading this page. Okay, so we've discussed what headings are. So what are subheadings? So subheadings, although a heading tells us what the main text is going to be about, the text is then broken down into further sections because it might be a bit overwhelming if somebody sees a whole page full of writing and maybe that all of that information might not be relevant to them. They might not want to know everything that's on that page. So the subheading breaks the text down even more so that it doesn't just look like a big chunk of writing. So it makes it smaller into more relevant chunks. Subheadings further help to break down the text into smaller chunks. They give the reader an idea of what to expect in each section of the page or part of the chapter. So one person might be interested in a specific piece of information. So they will first look at the subheadings to see where they might be able to find that piece of information rather than reading the whole page or the whole chapter. So on this page, can you find the subheadings in our class text? We've discussed that in the home is the heading. So what are the subheadings? Okay, so some subheadings might be Victorian children. So we know that if we read this paragraph, it gives us information. We already know that it's about in the home of Victoria, of the Victorian people. That now this paragraph is specifically about Victorian children. This paragraph has got a subheading, home life. So it tells us specifically about what life was like at home. Or this subheading, family roles. We know it's about what life is like in the home of Victorians. Now, what are the family roles within that home? How about on this page, what are some subheadings that you notice? Okay, so we've got subheadings like street life, street traders, public services, a consumer society. These are all subheadings. So instead of having all of this writing in a huge paragraph, which might get quite boring for some if they're reading it, and they might not want to know all that information, it's broken down. And the information underneath each subheading has to be relevant to the subheading. Okay, pause the video and have a look at our class text. I've forgotten to make the heading and subheadings clear. So can you help me find them? Because it kind of blends into the rest of the text. Can you pause the video and have a go at finding the heading and then the subheadings, and then we will discuss what these are. So as we said, normally the heading is a bit larger and maybe more bold or even underlined to catch the reader's eye. So what's the heading of our text map? The electric hairbrush. This is the heading. Now, what are some subheadings? So this text has been broken down into smaller chunks. What are the subheadings of this text? We've got the introduction. What does it look like? So what information are we going to find underneath this subheading? We're going to find out what the electric hairbrush looks like. The next subheading is what does it do? And the information that we'll find underneath this subheading is what the electric hairbrush does. This subheading, more information. What are we going to find out underneath that subheading? More information about the electric hairbrush. The next subheading, did you know? We're more than likely are going to be finding an interesting piece of information underneath this subheading. Now, if somebody was only interested in knowing what the electric hairbrush did, they would just be able to quickly have a look at the subheadings and find out that, oh, there's a subheading called what does it do? And they would just read this paragraph to give them that information. They don't need to read the whole text to find that out. Right, your turn now. You're going to pick the activity that's most appropriate for you. You have 2 to choose from. So this is activity 1, where you have been given some strips of information and you have been given 3 headings. What you're going to do is match the information to the correct heading. So you need to read the information and think, oh, does that relate to history of trains, Victorian fashion, or Queen Victoria herself? So what you're going to do on your piece of paper is read one of the pieces of information and then write down the heading that it belongs to. Maybe you can just write down one of the headings and choose all of the pieces of information that go underneath that heading, then move on to the next heading. This is another activity that you could choose from. Here are 3 short non-fiction paragraphs. Can you write your own headings to match? So you're going to read the pieces of information and you're going to think about which heading you might want to write that would best, in a few words, best describe what that paragraph is about. Remember, your heading is not a full sentence. It's just a few words that give us quick information about what that paragraph is going to be. I look forward to seeing all of your work on Tapestry. Make sure your work is always at its highest standard. Please remember your cursive handwriting, remember your everyday writing skills that you also made a list of a few lessons back. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, Mandela class.